All right. So now we have Troy in Edmonton, Alberta.
Hi.
How you doing?
Hi.
Hi. Hi. So we had our discussion today by email, and I posted it on biblicality.com.
Yes, and just a little, give our viewers a quick a prequel here. Troy and I have been discussing today. He sent a question in, and having to do with origins, and he and I have been discussing back and forth and arguing back and forth about a lot of the arguments that he's been putting forth for God. So that's the discussion he's been talking about. Can you give
our your viewers a URL so that they can check out this stuff?
It's simply biblocality.com.
Biblocality.com. Okay.
Just like it sounds.
Okay. B-I-B-L-O.
Got it. Okay. Go on.
And so basically, I think our discussion is, I believe that something can't come from nothing because that which doesn't exist can't produce nothing. Nothing always comes from nothing, so that's a silly argument. And you can't really say there's an infinite regress, because if there was an infinite regress of nature, you would have had an eternity for us to have come into being, for example. And we would have had more than enough time for that to happen. Well, an infinity, so it should have happened already. Why didn't it happen yesterday? So on that very same page, I even posted a video by William Lane Craig who gives basically the same argument. We're saying that doesn't make any sense, and he does some mathematical calculations to show that that's silly. So basically, then, if the universe can't come from nothing, and it can't have always existed, we really are left with no other option than the uncreated creator. So the question then becomes who he is. So you can compare, and you come to Jesus Christ.
Well, see, this is where we kind of. This is the problem that I had with your drawing of that specific conclusion, is that even if the only option that you present is an uncreated creator, okay, what you have to do first off is explain then how it is that this creator manages to be uncreated, how it is that this creator, if it is uncreated, avoids the problem of infinite regress that you would have with an eternally existing universe, because the fact that creation is a causal process, right? Something doesn't exist and then it gets created and now it does exist. Because that is causal, you have this creator existing, I think, essentially in a causal state, in a temporal state. So why then would this creator...
No, he's uncreated. He exists outside of time by the evidence that nature can't have always existed.
But where do you have... what evidence do you have to present? And again, this is what we addressed in our email exchange, that there is a realm outside of time. And if there is such a realm,
you don't have to understand it, but you have to accept it by the evidence.
We don't have to accept anything if there's no evidence for it. And
the evidence is that there cannot be an eternity of the past of cause and effects, and the universe can't come from nothing.
Let me cut to the chase here.
Yeah.
Is there something that exists without having been created?
Is there something that exists without having been created? Yes, that is the uncreated creator.
Okay, then what are its properties, and how do you know that?
Well, we know who he is specifically. We know he entered into his creation through the person of Jesus Christ.
No. How do we know that? What does that have to do with it? Wait, what does this? Okay. Wait, no. What does this have to do with the uncreated creator thing? You're starting with this abstract philosophical concept, and then you're just jumping to. But I believe the stuff. But I believe the stuff that's in the Bible. If you're just going to argue from the Bible, then why didn't you start there? What is all this abstract, quasi-pseudo-philosophical stuff?
Well, here's the problem, and I hope that I had made this very clear in our email exchange. You are asserting the existence of an uncreated creator.
No.
You are asserting the existence of
an uncreated creator.
You're asserting the existence of a realm.
There's no other option available. Since nature can't have always existed and can't come from nothing, you're left with no other choice than an uncreated.
How do you know that is the only other option, though?
How painful that is to our heads to accept.
How do you know that that's the only other option?
That's right.
How do you know that that is a false dilemma? I'm asking you. How do you know that you are not committing the fallacy of the false dilemma?
You have to present the false dilemma if there is one. I haven't heard any from you.
The false dilemma that you're making is because in the natural universe thing you can't have infinite regress and you can't have something coming from nothing. Therefore, the only other possible option is not just an uncreated creator, not just any uncreated creator, but the uncreated creator that specifically happens to be the biblical God.
And
how do you know that?
The biblical God is because you personally can't find a natural explanation for the origin of the disciples' belief.
What stops me?
So if we can't come up with a specific explanation, then we must assume that your magical story about a book thousands of years ago, which describes a detailed story about a God coming to Earth, must be true because we can't think of something else.
That's right.
Okay. All right. And you don't understand why that's the argument from ignorance fallacy.
And it shouldn't be that complicated, because it's just a simple
It's not that complicated. It's nonsense.
You don't understand why that is the argument from ignorance fallacy.
That's why you prove Jesus is God, and that's why you're actually leading people to Christ on your program, because they can see you can't come up with a naturalistic explanation.
Awesome. When we point out that you're making a logical fallacy, that I hardly imagine that that's leading people to God, unless, like you, they don't understand what logical fallacies are. I pointed out a stream of logical fallacies that you've made.
What you're doing is you're asserting a logical fallacy, but you haven't actually
I'm not asserting a logical... The logical fallacy that you're making is a classic argument from ignorance, because you guys don't have a natural answer. My magical answer has to be right.
Is a classical argument from ignorance, isn't it?
Excuse me? No, it's not. You're asserting the existence of a magical God, and you're doing it on the basis that science can't come up with a natural answer.
Here, that is a
classic argument from ignorance.
You said that we can't come up with an alternate explanation, and therefore the God of the Bible must be true. I've actually got an alternate explanation. It's the great green Arkle seizure who sneezed the universe out of his nose, and is nothing like the God of the universe.
That God is inaccessible, so nobody knows about him.
Now we're going to a completely different argument.
Okay, well, he's not inaccessible?
Can I give you one sentence that is a sentence by the most famous lawyer of the 19th century?
Appeal to authority.
Just one quick sentence.
You're just doling out the fallacies like a vending machine,
Please let me read it to you.
Sure.
Every document apparently ancient coming from the proper repository or custody and bearing on its face no evident marks of forgery, the law presumes to be genuine and devolves on the opposing party the burden of proving to be otherwise.
So are you saying that the greatest lawyer in history recognized spectral evidence in court, which was discounted during the Salem witch trials?
All evidence is in play here. You can use anything you want.
Okay, so that guy clearly didn't know much about American law.
Mm-hmm.
They say he produced the most jurisprudence of any lawyer,
that may be true, but he still believed in stuff that people at the Salem witch trials were recognizing is invalid legal standards.
I don't know anything about the Salem witch trials. I really don't care about them.
You don't know anything about very much, man. I mean, Troy, we've pointed out every single fallacy that you've brought out, and
I haven't heard one yet.
You have. You've just ignored them. You're now doing the argument from...
I don't know what it is yet. You haven't said it.
Yeah, I explained very clearly, and you know what? Over 1,000 of our viewers heard me tell you what the argument from ignorance was that you were making. And if you're sitting here with your fingers in your ears going, nuh-uh, that's on you, man. Yeah. It's not your problem.
I'm sorry, man. Look, I wished you'd called sooner. This could...
I am going to post...
Actually, not really.
I am going to post to the blog exactly, and I'm going to quote him directly, our viewers can decide for themselves whether or not Troy actually knows what he's talking about. But he is just advancing a collection of fallacies. He does not appear to know the difference between what is real and what he is simply imagining, and he doesn't understand what proof is.
Okay,
he makes
and that be our show.
Proof.
And goodbye, everyone.
Thanks for calling anyway, Troy.
Come to Thread Gills or we'll keel haul you. Bye.
Woo. We're out of time.